Hey everyone, and welcome to another Star Wars Games update, where we bring you all of the latest and greatest in Star Wars gaming news. So, over the weekend we got a pretty big bombshell when it came to Star Wars Battlefront 3 and the overall future of the Battlefront franchise at DICE and EA. And if you haven't seen that video I made on that, then I definitely recommend you check it out. Because the more recent news that resulted from that fallout has now seen the former Battlefront 2 design director only, let's just say further deepen the wound, as he now has revealed some of DICE's behind-the-scenes secrets concerning certain levels and even heroes that were expected to be coming into the game. Like, surprise surprise, Ahsoka and Ventress, among others. But of course, those never came to be, and now we know why. And before we get into any of that, a quick reminder that if you do like these type of videos, then be sure to give it a like to show your support for this update series and the content within it. With that out of the way, let's get into it. You know what, with this story, let's just roll the old Battlefront update intro just for old time's sake. So, it's safe to say that Friday's news bombshell about Battlefront 3 caused a lot of discourse within the Battlefront community, with some people being quite stunned by the news drop while others being a little less so, but of course the disappointment, I'd say, was pretty much equal for everyone on this. Which, if we're being honest, isn't exactly a new feeling for those of us who've been with Battlefront 2 since day one, especially with the cancellation of the live service that saw an end to new content to be put into the game. Like, for example, the long-rumored and leaked Ahsoka and Ventress heroes. Now, at the time, while these two heroes weren't officially announced or anything like that, many of us knew they were originally supposed to be added into the game, especially after the original trilogy's just Supremacy mode, and we knew this due to evidence found in the game's data, verified leakers telling us that they were being worked on, and even the devs themselves dropping quite strong hints about it. But when it did turn out that we weren't getting them, and then when I, among others, did report on this, and there was unfortunately a small minority of people who were pretty angry about this, saying that we were lying and making up news all because Ahsoka and Ventress were never officially announced. And yeah, how dare we read into the glaring mountain of evidence that we had on them at the time. Well, concerning exactly this, I don't want to tell those individuals I told you so, but hey, I did. And this all comes straight from Battlefront 2's former design director, Brännval, who, as a result, right after last week's Battlefront 3 bombshell news, he went straight to Twitter to basically tell us a bunch of DICE's secrets, which at the time they didn't want us to know about, but of course with everything about EA and DICE's practices now getting exposed to the public, and Dennis no longer working for them, he took the opportunity to tell us a lot about the stuff he'd always wanted to say but never could. Now, there's a lot to unpack here, a lot of interesting info that Dennis ended up revealing, which we'll definitely get into. But the biggest news story of it all is Dennis indirectly confirming that yes, Ahsoka and Ventress were indeed being worked on, but unfortunately, we know the story, we never got them. As on Twitter, he said the following on it. There may or may not have been prototypes of Mustafar, Ventress, and Ahsoka for a Clone Wars drop after Scarif, smiley face. So there you go, straight from the head of Battlefront 2. Ahsoka and Ventress were very much being worked on, no doubt about it, and along with that, they were even supposed to come together with a Mustafar map too. Which was a map that, along with Coruscant, was constantly being requested and asked about since I could remember. And to think, we were supposed to get Mustafar with Ahsoka and Ventress all in one amazing long-awaited Clone Wars season. It honestly just stings thinking about what could have been. And unfortunately, we all know what exactly happened. EA cut the plug on the live service and we never did get to that point. Which was not only frustrating for us the gamers, but as well for the DICE devs themselves, like Dennis, which he later admits. Now, before we move on to anything else, it goes without saying that either EA or DICE weren't too happy about Dennis at basically admitting to Ahsoka and Ventress to the public. Because as of today, Dennis has deleted that tweet. No doubt due to the negative press it may have given EA and DICE because of it. So this only goes to further show just how much EA and DICE wanted to keep Ahsoka and Ventress being cancelled under wraps. Even still in 2021 with the game having ended a year or so ago already. And at the same time it kinda makes sense because they know how much the fans wanted those characters in the game. And the only reason they didn't get them was because of EA. So I could see why EA are trying to censor this news because they don't want it to get out. They don't want their reputation to be further dampened by Star Wars fans. But hey, the cat's out of the bag now, and by forcing Dennis to delete his tweet, that's not gonna stop this delicate information from spreading out further. Now, Dennis as well mentioned the frustration it came from working on the game and how much heartbreak he had felt when his team found out about EA cutting support on the game. Which, following the Ahsoka and Ventress tweet, he then said, "It was wonderful and heartbreaking. It's taking me quite a while to get over the frustration. But now I look upon my entire stay with fondness and wish everyone nothing but the best. I had some kick-ass ideas for Star Wars Battlefront 3 though, smiley face." And yeah, this is something that we can without a doubt believe, as when the news did come out that EA did cut the live service to Battlefront 2, there were a lot of internal reports and rumors coming straight from the DICE offices on how much Dennis especially was against this idea, and even tried pushing back on it, which unfortunately pissed off EA, and as a result saw him losing his job at DICE over it. So it makes a lot of sense why it took Dennis all this time to basically heal since that incident took place, and to be able to now talk about this stuff openly with the community. Now, it should be noted that Dennis did himself mention Battlefront 3 and how he's got some cool ideas for that. But as we know now, Battlefront 3 won't be happening, at least under EA, which has created a lot of conversation on the topic of, okay, if EA don't do it, then can a different publisher make it instead? I mean, you'd assume so, right? And if yeah, then would Dennis be open to working on Battlefront 3 given his experience with the franchise and his ideas for a new game? Well, as it turns out, totally, but the little thing is, we never really did know the legal status surrounding the Battlefront franchise in the first place, and how much EA controls it and whether they even own it like Battlefield for example. Because if that were the case, then it'd be impossible to see a different publisher and studio make a Battlefront 3. And, well, that's where Dennis finally clears this all up and answers this once and for all, by saying it'd be hard to say no to Star Wars. But a large majority of those who I worked with there and who set up the foundation for both franchises have moved on. Battlefront is a Lucasfilm property though, so closed doors and open windows, etc. So yes, knowing that EA have turned down on making a Battlefront 3, this now opens the door for a different publisher to take the franchise and make a Battlefront 3 themselves. Which would be great to see them hire Dennis for the job too. Now, it should be stated that the Ahsoka, Ventress, and Mustafar reveal wasn't the only interesting piece of info that Dennis told us. Yeah, it was the biggest info drop out of everything, don't get me wrong, but he also filled us in on some other cool neat tidbits when it came to EA's first Battlefront game. Like for example, where he reveals that originally Chewbacca and Bossk were initially planned as the first heroes for a Solist-focused DLC pack. But the plans afterwards shifted and the team instead did Nien Nunb and Greedo along with the Jabba's Palace for the Outer Rim DLC pack. Then they had Lando Calrissian and IG-88 planned for the Bespin DLC, but because rigging a droid was going to take too long, so they replaced IG-88 with Dengar because rigging a human character is so much more easier. And as for the Death Star DLC, get this. It was initially going to feature Obi-Wan Kenobi like Old Ben and Tarkin. Which, let's be honest here, would have been insane had that happened. But alas, due to Rogue One releasing just 3 months after the DLC planned to release, the team instead shifted to doing Bossk and Chewbacca then. Dennis also mentioned that DICE were initially unsure if they were even going to be doing a Rogue One DLC at all. Which of course they eventually did, but had they not, they were planning on releasing a Mos Eisley pack featuring Obi-Wan Kenobi. And last but not least, what I also found fascinating is that EA's Battlefront originally was not even supposed to be a Battlefront game in the first place, with it just randomly getting the Battlefront title during its development process just for the brand recognition it was available. Which, as Dennis explains, is a major reason why the first game lacked so much gameplay, features, and content that we all know and love from Battlefront. Suffice to say, some of the stuff Dennis revealed we already knew about and really only needed confirmation straight from a DICE dev. But at the same time, there's also a lot of interesting things here too to learn and hear about that really makes you think. Just how different both Battlefront 1 and 2 would have been today had things turned out a little differently than they did. And that will do it for this Star Wars Games update. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share it, and subscribe to the channel to not only support it, but to keep up with Star Wars news, gaming, and canon lore released every week. And consider following me on Twitter and Facebook to never miss out on the latest Star Wars content. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.